Welcome to the Finance Garage podcast, your go-to podcast for navigating the world of finance. I'm Jonathan, your financial guide, bringing the latest market trends, investment strategies, and financial news that matters to you. And by the way, I'm also going to share my other passion, which is cars.
At the SWU Group, we help everyday families achieve financial success. Our integrated services include financial planning, accounting, credit advisory, and estate planning. We're here to guide and support you every step of the way, from custom investment strategies to maximizing tax efficiency. We ensure your financial goals are met with peace of mind. Visit simonwu.com.au for more information.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Finance Garage. As always, Jonathan Wu here, Senior Financial Advisor and Principal at the SWU Group. Now, I've brought back on Adam Morris from Redriven. Many of you gave fantastic feedback from my first episode with Adam last year. He was also my first car guest last year on the show. And we talked about a lot of issues with regards to the car market overall. And today I've asked Adam to come back on to discuss the hidden cost of luxury cars and how to avoid getting destroyed by servicing bills. Because there is, well, put it this way, if I had $1 for every story I've heard from a luxury car owner, whether it be family or friends or clients, and they talked about how exorbitant the cost of servicing is and the issues related to service and warranty from dealerships and attitudes of dealerships, I think I would have already retired. And I think it's very important that we bring everything down to basics because I'm not overly intelligent when it comes to cars. I would call myself an enthusiast. And I sort of get an idea of what consumables are, brake pads and batteries and things like that. So I've taken, my own approach in sort of getting these items serviced, but most people, are too scared, and obviously clearly don't come from a mechanic or an engineering background and just rely on the dealer. And the dealers know this because that's how they make their money. Now, granted, everyone is entitled to make money. This is a capitalist society, but at the end of the day, it's how do you find ways of getting a more efficient outcome? Because what we're trying to dispel in today's episode is the myth of does, servicing your car through a dealership actually derive a better outcome? That is the broader question that we're asking today. And so, as always, I hope everyone enjoys today's episode and hit me up on the socials for any feedback. Anyhow, enjoy. So, hey, Adam, welcome back to the podcast.
Mate, thank you. Thanks for having me again. This is great.
So, I brought you back because we got a lot of feedback, great feedback, of course, from your first one.
Oh, wow.
And I sort of came up with two things that I've been dealing with in, my head around cars. Mm-hmm. And we're going to sort of split it up across two episodes. And the first one is dealing with servicing, because servicing is fun, right?
Yeah. It's scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I've seen it on your channel, someone mentioned, either you or Jim, it's like, whatever you put into buying a used car, if you can't spend the same amount or not or more in actually trying to bring it back up to shape in many cases, then just don't buy it. You can't afford it. You cannot afford it.
Yeah, I think we love the saying that if you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't afford to buy it once.
That's exactly right. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And that goes for, I think, even potentially a lot of new cars because of depreciation and whatnot. And obviously, you can get around that with novated leasing, but that's a whole other can of worms. Yeah, I genuinely think if you're over leveraging yourself to the point where you're, in a lot of financial strife, if you lost your job, or if the car did depreciate 70 or 80%, which can happen, maybe don't buy that car.
Yes, and the thing is, with European cars especially, like every time I speak to friends that have a Mazda, CX-5, or a Camry, and they talk about their servicing costs, I always fall off my chair because, or the other way, I tell them what my servicing costs are for BMWs, Mercedes, and they just go, even my dad is at a point where he's got a 10-year-old CLS and he'll basically go, so we just paid $1,100 for an oil change in a car wash.
It's ridiculous.
Because there was nothing else wrong with the car. And I kind of go, yeah, we did, Dad. And it was like, okay, cool. And the thing is, let's sort of break the ice a bit. What is probably the most ridiculous servicing story you've ever come across? And I know you would have come across multitudes.
There's plenty. There's a cracking one where we know a guy who works in IT, and he's currently, or he was, contracting to a big dealership network, and that dealership network looks after Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda, and a whole bunch of other brands. So he drives an Audi Q3, which is the exact same car as a Skoda Kodiaq. It's the same car. It's the same platform. It's the same engine. It's the same suspension. It's the same brakes. The only thing different is that the body panels and the interior look different. So he knows this, and he had to get a little bit of work done to his Audi Q3. And because he was contracting to the IT department of this dealership, he put the service through as a Skoda, not as the Audi, because the parts are identical. The service department itself, when you go under this dealership, it's an enormous service centre. It's all the same technicians. There's not like an Audi section and a Volkswagen section and a Skoda section. It's all the same humans, all the same apprentices working on these cars. The thing is, the Audi parts are sometimes 3 to 4 times more than the Skoda part, even though it is the identical part. Worse still is the labour costs. So I think from memory, I'm pulling numbers out of the air here, but I think the Audi labour charge per hour was like $280 an hour. The Skoda was about 110. It's the same humans using the same parts on what is fundamentally the same vehicle. It's just that it's got aesthetically a little bit different. Now, when he dropped the Audi Q3 and the girl at the service department said, "Oh, we've got you down as a Skoda Kodiaq, not as the Q3," and he said, "Oh, well, as we both know, we both work here. It's the same car." And she's like, "Oh, no, we have to put that through as an Audi." He's like, "No, like I can't say this enough. It's the same vehicle." But this is the thing, people don't understand this. People fall for these traps of going, "Oh, I've got my Mercedes or my BMW or my Audi and it's worth this extra." No, it's just another car. There's nothing special about your car. It's all smoke and mirrors and hype. And these dealerships and manufacturers can profit so much more off it because they can charge so much more for the bullshit around the marketing and the hype.
Do you think that, using this exact example, the executives at Volkswagen Group have told their sub-executives at Skoda, that you have to ensure that the next version of this car doesn't look as good as the Q3, for the love of God, please. And that's the only way they can keep everyone at bay.
The classic example of that is the Porsche 911 Porsche Cayman argument. So Porsche Cayman, for the longest time, was a detuned and engineered to not perform as well as a 911 because you can't have the 911 not be the halo car. Finally, they released the GT4 and GT4 RS, and people started going, "Hang on a sec, having the engine in the middle of the car with this phenomenal platform, that is the sweeter car." I've been lucky enough to drive all the hot 911s and all the hot Caymans and hot Boxsters. If it was my money, I'd be buying a Cayman over a 911. I love 911s, but I think in terms of what that sort of car is supposed to do, I'd be buying the Cayman. Yeah, this happens all the time. There are plenty of situations where BMW does it with Mini, slightly differently because they're very, very different brands. But in the Volkswagen family, we've got that hierarchy of Audi number 1, Volkswagen number 2, Skoda, probably Cupra number 3, and Skoda number 4. Yeah. There's definitely the touchy-feely stuff might feel a little cheaper on a Skoda than an Audi, but surely people are smarter than to fall for that kind of crap, aren't they?
But clearly not. It's proven by sales numbers, right?
I know.
By the success of a brand.
Yeah.
If we start and look at the basic consumables of a car and look at the what servicing we're looking for, the ones that I've sort of come up with is brake pads, discs, tires, batteries, fluids like your engine oil and stuff, and suspension wear items, right? Is that broadly, and this is where I sort of have this pack of consumables, all mechanics know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, it's just a car. Okay. Like, it doesn't matter if it's got a Bentley badge on it or a Rolls-Royce badge. It's still a car. It's like, I think that's the thing that a lot of people fall for the trap of. They get their Maserati or their Bentley and they think it's something special. And to them it might be, but once you take the body panels off, it's just another car. There's nothing, any qualified, experienced mechanic knows how to work on a car. Yeah, okay, we're getting into a realm where there's some hybrid technology coming in and some EV technology coming in, where that definitely requires some more specialised knowledge because it's a very different kind of setup. But overall, most cars are pretty much the same thing. Changing oil on a car between a 1990s RAV4 is pretty much the same procedure as changing oil on the latest S-Class.
Okay, so here was an interesting observation I had. So my wife's X3, BMW X3, recently needed brakes. And this is where I also call bullshit. I've seen you and Jim talk about this as well, this condition-based crap that BMW comes off.
We'll get into that.
And my brain implodes every time I see that because I kind of go, I have kids. Like getting my wife and saying, we need to get the car serviced. She's like, didn't we get an oil change like 6 months ago? Yeah, but then this condition-based shit just came up again. Yeah. Can we just, I got to call them again and got to shift the service periods to make them match. It's a friggin' nightmare, ridiculous. Right? And so the brakes were coming up, so I called my local dealership. I said, how much to change it? These are just rear pads and discs, just a bit over $2,000.
Oh my God.
Okay, and then I said, all right, that's cool. So then I rocked up I just Googled, looking for good mechanics in my area, looking at reviews and stuff. And he rocked up the first one, and he said, what do you have? And I go, BMW X3. He goes, well, stop there, I don't do BMWs. And I go, why? So he said, I used to. And I said, tell me more. So last year, he said that BMW forcibly made everyone that wants to service BMWs in the independent world need to buy a new diagnostic tool.
Right, okay.
That's something to do with voltage, apparently, or something that if you don't buy this piece of equipment, you're not going to service BMWs.
Yeah, so what's happening, you've got more and more proprietary tooling for fundamentally proprietary parts. So we're entering an age where, let's say you get a stone chip and a headlight. Now, headlight costs for some manufacturers, especially the Euro luxury stuff, can be outrageous. We've seen quotes of $20,000 for a headlight.
A headlight?
Yeah, even more. The Audi R8 LMX, which has laser lights, I think from memory they're like $50,000 per headlight. So you get a cracking one, that's huge money. There's only 3 or 4 of those in the country. But even for a standard C-Class, the replacement price of a headlight is crazy. But what we're starting to see is there's so many modules and there's so much technology in this headlight that the headlight has to talk to the body control module.
Yeah.
If you use an aftermarket headlight or, heaven forbid, a used headlight, well, then that body control module knows that's not the genuine new part and they won't speak to each other, so you can't get it to work. Which is a bit like in the same way Apple, for a long time, you couldn't fix an iPhone.
Yes, correct.
It's the same thing.
Yes,
we're getting to a point where you almost can't fix certain cars because of the technology involved. And they'll say, it's because of safety, and that's bullshit. It's because they just want to make more money. And they're a business, I totally get that, understandable. But with your brake situation, we have the classic story. We had an Audi RS4 on the channel recently. And the replacement brakes for that, the gentleman was quoted over $10,000 for brakes.
One set.
A set of brakes. 10 and a half, I think. The thing is, you can buy aftermarket parts for less, I think it was less than 3. I think it might have been $2,800, which outperform, and clearly massively cheaper than the Audi stuff. Now, we know they're outlasting and outperforming because we race with the guy that has that model RS4, and he runs the aftermarket brakes in the race series we do. So he's putting those brakes through way more torture than any person on the road ever will. Like, we're talking multiple track days, and this guy can steer, and his aftermarket brakes are outperforming and outlasting the Audi OEM stuff for what's that, less than a third of the price. It's a quarter of the price, actually. Yeah, nearly a quarter of the price.
Okay, so I'm staggered at that. Sorry, what was it? 10?
10 and a half.
10 and a half.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, as we discussed before, I got a secondhand LC500, which we both love. And Lexus quoted me $4,000 for fronts and rears. So, here's a live case study. So, ever since I got the car, it's not a problem. I can't hear it when I'm inside the car, but outside the car, you hear it is squeaking brakes.
Yep.
Okay? It's fronts. Anyway, when I took it in for the first service, and the guys there said, there's a lip on the brakes, which is common. He goes, because all of you guys are just driving in Sydney suburban traffic going stop, start, stop, start. And I said, okay, how do you solve a lip? And they said, well, you either replace it or you just drive it really, really fast, and then it'll take it to a track, right? But the problem is, if we take the first option and then we go and replace it and put new ones on where you drive it in the same conditions, you're going to end up creating the lip again.
Yep.
Does that problem get solved by using non-OEM parts?
It can. Depends on the brake and the car and a bunch of factors. The squeaking, brakes are always a compromise. And what we're seeing with a lot of the Euro stuff, you get a lot of brake dust on Euro brakes. It's a common problem, and they wear out quite quickly. And it's because you've got a very high performance vehicle. The brakes have to feel good and have amazing stopping power, but they also have to be quiet. But most importantly for the manufacturer, there has to be a huge profit margin in it for them. So there's these compromises that happen. Lexus have sort of gone the other way, where they've gone, okay, we're going to be a little bit squeaky here. You're going to have to deal with that because it's a high performance brake. It's a high performance car. Go drive it as such. Go and give it a flogging. And that will make all the difference in the world. And in terms of aftermarket, it's going to depend on the car. Something else to watch out for as well. We saw this recently on some Mercedes models where, say, Mercedes-Benz AMG CLA 45. Well, the braking package on that is fundamentally the same braking package as you'll find on a standard GLE. The GLE is like a 2-ton SUV.
Correct,
it needs big brakes versus the CLA, which is like a 1,500 kilo sports car. But because you're buying the AMG, they will charge you more for the same parts that you'll get on the GLE. So you'll have, even within the same brand, certain parts that will be different pricing depending on the car you actually have. The classic example of this was, we did a video years ago. The the parking brake pad on a Lamborghini, I think it was the Aventador, is the same as a particular model Touareg. Now the Touareg pad price, I think, was like $69. The same model, it's the same pad. They come in the same box, it's the same model number. For the Lamborghini, was about $2,500. It's the same part, but one comes from Lamborghini and the other one comes from Volkswagen.
So if I go and call up Volkswagen and order the equivalent, or let's call it, 40, 50, about 50 of them, and then take it to my independent mechanic to get it fixed, it's the same outcome.
Yeah, it's the same part. And this isn't just in the Euro stuff. We have a great story where Jim, our resident mechanic, had a guy come in with a Mazda BT50. Now, for those that don't know, the Mazda BT50 of this particular generation is a Ford Ranger. It's the same vehicle, literally the same vehicle with different body panels and interior. The guy came in and he needed, let's say it was a water pump. Can't remember exactly the part, but water pump is a good example. He said, I need to use Mazda genuine parts. And Jim said, well, yeah, but that's a Ford part. And he's like, no, it's got to be Mazda genuine parts. And Jim said, it's a Ford. It's a Ford engine. And the guy was like, adamant, no, has to be Mazda. So, okay, cool. Jim gets on the Mazda parts portal and orders the Mazda part. The part arrived from Gloucester Ford in a Mazda box, but the Mazda box wasn't actually a Mazda box. The Mazda box was a very thin cardboard box, and inside the Mazda box was a Ford box, which was the actual packaging. And you unwrap it, and it's got Ford logos all over it. It's got Ford bits of paper and instructions and invoicing. But the Mazda part, I think from memory, was $800 and something, and the Ford part was $200 and something. So the customer comes back in, and Jim talks him through this, going, your genuine Mazda part, you've paid $600 for a cardboard box. Yes. That's the only difference, is the tiny little bit of packaging. The actual component itself is the same. And the guy couldn't believe it. He's like, how do they do this? I'm like, this is the car industry. This happens across the board. It doesn't matter what brand you're looking at. Toyota and Lexus are probably the only ones that don't. If you buy a particular water pump from a RAV4, which is the same water pump as you'll find in a Lexus RX, it's the same price.
Yes. They're actually more fair. The only
they don't play the smoke and mirrors game. You're paying for the part, not the packaging.
So what if? Okay, let's this list of stuff we can change ourselves through an independent mechanic.
Yep.
But what if you're I can't possibly think that if my infotainment system is playing up, my mechanic's going to help me sort that out. Agreed?
Yeah, that's a tough one because now it depends on the generation of the car. So we're now into that point where infotainment is now part of your ADAS or your safety systems. It's part of your parking assistance. It's part of all these things. We're now at a point where cars have so many modules, like the new S-Class. That has so much computing power, which means there are so many things that not can go wrong, will go wrong. Because the great example, we did a EQS AMG recently. In the door, each of those doors have something like, I think it's 8 modules per door. But if one module has a little tantrum, it takes all the other modules out. So you can lose your blind spot assist, you can lose your lane keep assist, you can lose the interior door lighting, you can lose sound. There's so many things. Because the environment that a car is in is inherently full of vibrations and moisture and different temperatures. That's not good for electronics and computers. So we're starting to see these problems where everyone's obsessed with new tech. I think we should be obsessed with less tech.
Yes.
Fundamentally, I get that people want the latest, greatest things. I don't necessarily think that's the way to go. I think we want the latest, greatest things because it's convenient, and convenience is that's great. I don't necessarily think convenience is something we all should aspire to. I think sometimes actually having to work for things and
Like close a door?
Yeah, anything that closes the door for you. How lazy are you? Are you that much of a loser that you need a button to close a door? I don't understand. Like even when people go, oh, it hasn't got wireless Apple CarPlay. Oh, you poor princess. You got to plug your phone in. Oh, it's the end of the world. I don't understand.
And even the practicality of it, I can tell you the real life example. Wireless CarPlay, I've never come across a car, tell me if you've come across one, that doesn't just nervously break down when you enter a Westfield or a toll booth.
Yep. Or it's across the board, or they're just glitchy.
Yeah.
When you actually plug it in,
nothing goes wrong.
It's great. I love the cars that don't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We drove recently a second generation RAV4, and no buttons on the steering wheel. It had a cassette player and a CD player and no screens and nothing digital. It was wonderful. It was so nice to go. I don't need an IT engineering degree to run this car. It was like no tech, and it was so nice. Yeah. And I think we're starting to see that. We're seeing it in other elements of life where CD sales are on the rise. Oh, yeah. Vinyl sales are on the rise. We can get a song on our phone in a heartbeat. But people are wanting the tactility of putting a CD in a CD player. Film sales are going up. Like our phone takes a better picture than most great cameras, but people are going out and buying old film cameras because there's something nice and tactile about actually operating it. And I think cars could kind of go the same way. There's something about actually having to put effort in and having to work with it and not just relying on tech, which will inherently go bad.
Correct. I mean, have you seen... because I would expect the market's got to have a demand for this, because we're talk about the EV side of things. I mean, one issue is obviously I have a hybrid downstairs. Cars that are just broadly heavier, they're just going to chew through consumables way faster, like at a rate of knots.
Brakes not so much, because a lot of, especially the EVs, they're using regen braking.
Oh, that's right.
Which is great. So brakes aren't too bad. Yeah. And even a lot of the hybrids, depending on the style of hybrid, they can use regen as well. But tyres, oh my God, yeah. I had a Ioniq 5N for a little bit, and phenomenal car, but wow. Like it's the same weight as a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes more. Like some EVs are, you're pushing 3 tons.
Yes.
But then you've got all this torque and all this performance.
Yes.
Tyres just don't last. Even a bigger picture here is what it can do to our infrastructure in terms of our roads.
Oh, that's right. You're chewing through tarmac now.
Yeah. If everyone on the road is driving a 3-ton EV and the roads were never designed for that, what does that do to the infrastructure? Suspension bushes is a big one as well. Suspension components, like because of the extra weight, that's a lot of extra effort into the suspension components. To keep a car from rattling like crazy, you've got to have sort of soft bushes. That's the part where the suspension arm attaches to the car, where it's like a pivot point. Yep. That has to be relatively malleable so you don't get vibrations through the car. But if it's softer, it wears out faster. But the manufacturers have been really smart. You used to be able to buy just bush kits. So you just change the bushes. And it was, a set of bushes for a Corolla was like $100. And you get your mechanic to do it, but it's not a hard job. That doesn't happen anymore. What they're doing, they're integrating the bush into the control arm, which is the big, heavy metal suspension part. So now you have to buy the entire control arm for thousands of dollars rather than just the bush. So you can't replace just the bush part. So, again, with EVs, I think a lot of people are seeing EVs going, oh, well, I don't have to service it as much because it has less moving parts. That's correct in a way, but what we're seeing with EVs are suspension components, tyre wear, but also all the electronics doing weird stuff. Like there's so many modules and so much tech.
Yep.
So rather than being a mechanical issue, you've got computers not talking to each other. Like we have it with our phones. Like our phone is about as good as technology gets, and everybody has a problem with their phone now and again.
Yes.
Let alone if it's a car and your car bricks itself because the body control module isn't talking to the safety systems. That happens.
That sort of concerns me because I saw when BMW just launched a month ago their new Neue Klasse thing, the big song and dance, and they said we have now integrated everything into one supercomputer that uses AI in the center of it.
That's going to go well.
That literally scares the living shit out of me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's literally all you need is one tiniest little bug, and you've bricked the entire car because it's 100% dependent on everyone, like every bit.
I think I feel like I'm in this. You've just made me realise I'm in this really fortuitous position because my whole world is just driving endless amounts of cars and generally used cars and doing all this research into what can go wrong. And I feel like if you went and spoke to a professional chef about the food industry, and they were like, yeah, don't go to Coles to buy that because you can buy them from Aldi over here. If you do this with the sauce, it does that and it tastes amazing. And I think every aspect of life and employment, there's always someone that works in that particular realm and they know the inside behind the scenes story. And they're the people you should listen to. And I feel like I've just realised, you've made me realise, I feel like I'm the person that goes, oh yeah, don't fall for all this bullshit from Mercedes and Audi and BMW and Porsche and all the brands. Because the really good stuff is the 30 to 40-year-old models when there was less tech.
Yes.
Like everyone's obsessing over the latest tech.
Yes.
Again, it's just more problems.
Yes.
And it used to be a situation of like, oh, well, don't buy a used one because once they're used and out of warranty, that's a worry. But as you found, as other people have found, even when it's a brand new car, they're having heaps and heaps of issues because there's all this new technology that hasn't been tested thoroughly yet.
Correct. Right. Even they all claim, all the car manufacturers claim that they've, done 1 million kilometers on every car, right?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't prove real world usage.
Exactly.
And I think in our previous sort of conversations, I remember it was like, okay, you want a Porsche 911, but how often are you actually going to use an actual Porsche 911
Exactly.
for what it was built for?
Yeah.
Right. For that price.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to say something very controversial.
Go.
I think with a lot of the luxury stuff and the premium stuff, like the S classes, the 911s, all those things, I think it becomes more of a status purchase. Like obviously, when you buy a car, it's a much logical purchase decision as it is an emotional one. But I think if you're going to drop S-Class money on an S-Class, maybe put that money into some good therapy. Maybe work out what part of your personality requires that level of projecting status and message. And if it's one of those things that you think is going to impress your friends and family, maybe you need new friends and family.
Correct.
Because the real friends and family don't give a shit what you drove. They don't care what financial position you're in. They just don't care.
Correct.
People that do judge you and care about those things are not people you want to be hanging out
Yep.
with. So therefore, it comes that I heard this great analogy it was more about music festivals. It was Coachella was on recently. And there was this question going around of, if you lived in a world where you could never ever tell anyone you were going to Coachella, you could never put it online. In the same way, you could never tell another human that you bought this S-Class or the 911. No one was to ever know what it was. Would you still buy that car? And if you were, I am buying it for me because I've always dreamt of having a 911. I'm going to go and do track days in it, and it literally is. I don't care what anyone thinks. This is for me. All power to you. Go and buy it. Okay. But if you're buying insert luxury car here, C-Class, E-Class, 5 Series, whatever it happens to be, if you're buying that car but you're trying to impress other people and you're buying it for someone else to look impressive, go get a therapist. Yeah. Go get some psychological help.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Ready to take the first step in investing, or just looking to continue growing your wealth without being inundated with financial information? With SWU Online Invest, we offer a range of expertly managed portfolios designed to match your investment needs. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just getting started, know that we will work tirelessly to ensure your investments are strategically positioned to maximize your goals. Visit swuonlineinvest.com.au today.
Let's talk about this out of warranty thing. We just sort of touched on it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with my, and to be fair, the guys at the Lexus dealership I spoke to when I was trying to get my LC500 serviced, to their credit, this was the conversation. Oh, Jonathan, so how old's the car? I go, oh, MY 2017. I go, okay, let me just look at this. Oh, that's a major service. And I said, okay, how much is a major service? $2,500. I'm like, okay. So I'm starting to clench, obviously. And then they sort of, I think they heard me clench on the phone, and they said, oh, how many Ks do you have on it though? I go, 40,000. And they said, don't waste your money on it. This is a dealership, right? He said, just do the basic service. There's nothing wrong with your car, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I go, no, okay, $650, just do the basic service. That's why I gave it to them, right?
Yeah.
That's the only car brand I've ever had an interaction with that literally go, I don't think you should waste your money.
Yeah. So we got to look at how dealership service departments work. And what I'm about to say is not a blanket term. This is like, obviously every dealership will work differently. Unfortunately, we've heard this time and time again. So this is how, especially with the luxury Euro brands, this is generally how we see it working. Again, cannot say this enough. This is not every single one of them. Some of them are legit. Very few, but some. So we know someone that was running Mercedes Service Centre. He's extremely qualified, been with the brand for decades. The way it works is that you have one or two lead technicians who are so flat out working out staffing, inventory, dealing with customer complaints. Like they're under the pump. One of the reasons he left, he was just completely stressed out. But on the floor, you've got a bunch of, at most, second-year apprentices, sometimes a third-year apprentice. We're talking 18-year-old kids that are stuck on their phones. So, and they don't have enough staff there to be making sure everything is done as it should. Now, we know this because we know of situations where a particular BMW that has a V8, a lot of them, for one of the major services, you're supposed to replace the spark plugs. There's 8 cylinders, but the 2 back ones are under the cooling system. So rather than spending the hours of time to pull the cooling system apart to get to those last 2 spark plugs, they just don't replace them. So there are a lot of BMW V8s where the front 6 have been replaced, but the last 2 haven't. And then all of a sudden, after 5 to 7 years, the car starts running like crap. Understandable. But they don't bother changing it because that's not profitable. So a lot of the dealerships are just going, deny warranty claims as much as you possibly can until they threaten you with consumer affairs, and hopefully they'll go away. Make sure you've got the cheapest possible guys on the floor because that's more profit. Make sure you only ever use the genuine OEM parts because we make maximum profit on those. Heaven forbid, find a good solution for the customer that will save them money because that doesn't make the dealership money. Because they're not making the money at all luxury cars are massively discounted when you buy. They're not making the money when they sell the car. They're making the money in the service department. And also the other problem with service departments, as we mentioned before, you're stuck with using genuine parts. And often the genuine parts are inferior to the aftermarket parts. They're never going to come to you going, mate, welcome to Audi in your RS4. Look, I know it's $10,500 for these brakes. Tell you what, we'll get you some aftermarket ones for $3,000. How's that sound? They're never going to do that.
So, okay, so how does the average consumer deal with this issue? Because, I know you guys got your mates at Automotive Superstore.
Yep.
Even when I went there and, I'm, let's call half a dumbass with cars, I'm just an enthusiast. I type in my rego, it comes up, it's an Lexus LC500. They'll still give me like 7 types of brakes to choose from. What do I actually do?
Yeah, again, this is where forums and owners groups are phenomenal. I think that we say it all the time in our videos. Forums and owners groups, you'll get incredible knowledge.
Facebook groups?
Yep.
Okay.
Facebook or jumping on Reddit. Some of the Reddit subreddit groups are fantastic. Forums are excellent, and you'll have group experts that will help you out. We've recently filmed a GWM Tank 300 and a GWM Cannon. Those owners groups are some of the best I've ever dealt with. Skoda owners groups are fantastic. It's funny that we find that It's the more humble car brands that have the better owners groups. It's
Because
the car,
they never went to therapy.
yeah. Or it's the brands that have a lack of pretense, that the owners generally have a lack of pretense. When we've sometimes jumped on some of the more luxury brands, you'll get a bit of arrogance going, how dare you question my Mercedes or my BMW, whatever it happens to be, which I find hilarious. Yeah. But generally speaking, getting on there and going, listen, I'm a bit of a muppet when it comes to working on cars. I know I can get cheaper brakes for my Mercedes-Benz. What do you guys recommend? And you'll probably get 30 responses of people going, yeah, check these out. And then again, you'll get people backing those things up. Owners groups, forums, and subreddits, I cannot recommend highly enough. Brilliant source of information.
And they're just really easy. They're generally easy to navigate as well.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Even in terms of where to go, we know of certain brands where the dealership experience can vary dramatically between different dealerships. And you'll have people going, oh, whatever you do, don't go to that dealer. They're a nightmare. Instead, drive 20 minutes down the road and go to this dealer instead. They're superb. Go and see Gary. He'll look after you. Mention you're a member of the Owners Club. And again, I cannot recommend them highly enough. Really great source of information.
If we turn the conversation the other way, and we talked a lot about dealership service departments and how they operate, there's obviously always independent workshops that are also terrible. Yes. If you're just a guy off the street, how do you know that this guy, outside of Google reviews, let's say that wasn't available, how would you spot someone that you may not think is a good mechanic?
If you can get a booking really soon, not a good sign. A good mechanic is booked out. I'm just going to blow Jim's trumpet for a second up at Quantum Mechanics in Newcastle, our resident mechanic. Yeah. He's often booked out for 3 months in advance. Yeah. It's actually becoming an issue because he would love to go bigger. Really good mechanics are generally booked up solid. Yeah. The vibe when you go in, or the vibe over the phone, if they're incredibly dismissive and a bit arrogant, just don't go there. Yeah. Probably not worth it. I'm almost going to say the flip side as well. If they've clearly spent an absolute fortune on their marketing, but when you get there, the experience doesn't meet the hype, that's sometimes not a great example as well. But generally, it's again, forums and owners groups. I can't say this enough. Like getting on there going, hey, I've got this car, really want to get it serviced at an independent, because I'd rather use aftermarket parts and actually have someone that's experienced to work on the car rather than a first-year apprentice. Where do I go? They'll recommend it. This is something to also remember in terms of defending independents versus the dealerships. The dealerships there's no reason for them to offer great customer service. There's no reason for them to offer better quality because it's a dealership. They're just
captive audience.
You've got a captive audience. An independent, they have to work hard to keep you happy. Also, bad word of mouth is the worst thing for them. A few bad Google reviews is possibly the end of their business. So you'd like to think that there's encouragement for an independent mechanic to go above and beyond, whereas the dealership, they just don't need to do that.
And you're spot on, because dealership service centers have terrible Google reviews.
Yeah.
And you're still lining up.
Yeah, and there's no need. People need to understand. I think some people also think you've got to go back to the dealer to retain your warranty. That's bullshit. Like, okay, Mitsubishi with their 10-year servicing and Nissan with the 10-year servicing, yeah, there's terms and conditions to those 10 years. That's interesting depending on what state you're living in, and there's a bunch of things around that. But we're talking luxury, high-end Euro brands here. You don't need to go back to the dealership to retain your warranty. As long as the parts being used are to spec, which the aftermarket ones, as we've shown, can sometimes be above spec. You won't lose your warranty. For recalls, it might be a different story. For a recall, you might have to go back to the dealership. Depends.
But it doesn't cost you anything anyway for a recall, so you should.
No, and recalls are good. Like recalls are the company going, oh, we need to get on the front foot for this to fix this because we want to avoid the litigation that we're going to cop if we don't. So it's. A lot of people go, oh, the car's had a lot of recalls. Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's talk tyres.
Sure.
Euro brand tyres, you always hear P0s and generally that sort of tyre. I mean, what I've usually done, take car in for service, Mercedes will go, you need new tires. I said, quote me. They'll quote you something ridiculous. And they say, we'll throw in rebalancing. I call my guys close by, down south at Bob Jane. I don't get sponsored by them. It's just, they just treat me really well. And they'll quote me a price without me even telling them what Merck quoted me. And it's usually about a third to half the price.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
So I found that to be a safer route. Safer route in the sense that it's the same tire that the guys at Merck recommended me. But is there a way to navigate the tire world for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, tires are, I think, probably the most important spare part of a car. Like, that is a big call, but it's the part of the car that's touching the road. So cheaping out on tires is never, it's insane to cheap out on tires. So important. Depending on the car. Now, most, let's say, consumer model cars, let's say a C-Class or a 3 Series or a Lexus IS or a Lexus RX, you should be able to run pretty much any premium tyre on that, from Bridgestone to Michelin to Pirelli to Continental, okay? Where you can see a difference is when you get into the really high-end performance stuff. Ferrari and Lamborghini are shockers for this. So they have a tyre, it'll be a specific tyre made for that particular car. And I have a friend of mine who's got a particular Lamborghini, and they ran not the Trofeo R Pirelli that came on the car, and the car turned into a bucket of shit. Like, it destroyed the car. I've been to an event with Pirelli where someone maybe had too many glasses of wine once, and they were telling me that, and they're part of the Italian Pirelli, like part of the manufacturing realm, saying that a lot of their job is to try to dial out the inconsistencies with the chassis that they're given. So they get given a particular, let's say for this case, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and then they go, oh my God, we need to create a tyre to get around all these, let's say, nuances or idiosyncrasies that maybe aren't great about that particular chassis. And that's why that car has to have that particular tyre, because it's the Band-Aid solution to just inherently a bit of a shit car. Ideally, again, going back into the performance thing, the flip side is you get something like a Subaru BRZ/GR86 from Toyota or a Mazda MX-5. No, they're so dialed in from a chassis point of view. You can put really any tyre on it, and you'll get the. I just did some testing with Bridgestone and got to drive a whole bunch of performance tyres, including some new Bridgestones, and you could definitely feel the nuances between all those different tyres. That's a definite thing. A bit like different hot sauces. Some might taste a bit like mango. The other one might just be a bit like petrol. So there's differences there. Just spend good money on tyres, but don't get it from the dealership. Do your homework, because there's always a better tyre deal somewhere.
There's always, there always are. And then the funniest thing is usually most Black Fridays is buy 3 get 1 free. Is usually right. Actually, here's a sub question to that. Let's say, for example, here's the other thing that car dealers do, and I think there is a genuine performance thing. Like, all my cars, actually no, the BMW doesn't, but the LC500 does, staggered. This whole concept about staggered. So Black Friday deals are always buy 3 get 1. So you get 4, but they have to be the 4 identical tyre. So if I parked the tyres in my garage, how long do they last?
It varies on the tyre, but there is a use by date.
It's printed in the thing?
Not so much use by date. There's a date of manufacture on the tyre. And look, it depends what you're doing with the tyre as well. If you're doing any real performance driving, I wouldn't want a tyre that's more than, say, 10 years old on it. And also tyre technology has moved so far. Like, so far.
For the better?
Oh yeah, like they're more efficient, they're better at dispersing water, they've got more grip. Like the tech in tyres is actually quite fascinating, although I am a geek when it comes to that stuff. So probably not that fascinating for most people. But no, what tyres can do now is absolutely incredible. I wish everyone could do the tyre test I just did, because it was genuinely like, wow, even. It's basically, there's a new RE005 performance tyre out, and I've run RE003s for years in other cars. And I assumed, this will just be a new logo and slightly better quality. No, it's dramatically better than the RE8. It's a big step up. And you're like, wow, I can't believe, it's just tyres. It can't be that complex. No, tyres are so important.
Genuinely.
Incredible, yeah.
EV tyres? Have you had my experience?
Yeah, really fascinating. Again, but I'm a geek. The tech in EV tyres is constantly improving, probably at a faster rate than other tyres because, they chew through tyres, people want more from the tyre. There's a lot of silence, because an EV is so quiet, there's a lot of tech used in, like with the Ioniq 5N, the tyre on that has big chunks of foam inside the tyre to try to get rid of some of the tyre rumble, and it works. But again, you're dealing with an incredibly heavy car. If you're just tootling around town and you've got a very light right foot, you might not go through tyres that often. But if you do like driving or you're doing big kilometres, you are going to go through tyres more on an EV than you will on the equivalent, ICE car.
Yeah, okay. Now, going back to warranty, but extended warranties, service plans. What do you think of service plans?
Oh God, this is a nightmare. So let's talk condition-based servicing or extended service intervals.
BMW.
Sorry. Range Rover, Land Rover, any JLR.
Really?
Plenty. There's plenty where they've extended the service period out to 25,000 Ks, which is an absolute scam.
Insane.
It's a scam. And they reckon, it's because modern oil technology is bullshit, right? That is, the reason they're doing it is because they go, and I get it from a business standpoint. They go, all right, well, we know that the Range Rover, Mercedes, BMW, Audi buyer is probably going to lease this car. I can't remember the percentages. I looked into this ages ago, but it's a huge percentage of people that lease and not buy. So therefore, they're going to keep the car for at most 7 years. So to make that car even more attractive is extend the service interval so it's less cost to the owner. So if they're going between, do I buy this Land Rover Defender or do I buy this Mercedes GLE? Well, the Land Rover has 25,000 K service intervals, whereas the Merc has 15. That means I don't have to spend as much money on the Defender because it's a longer service interval. And they know that chances are, at the end of your 5 or 7 years, you're just going to get out of that car and get into a new one.
Okay.
What happens after 25,000 Ks is that is terrible for the engine driveline of that vehicle.
Yes.
That means the poor second owner that comes along, they're the ones that are going to be dealing with the ramifications of not enough servicing. Theoretically, 10,000 Ks, 12 months, that should be the minimum. Where it's getting hard, you brought up BMW/Mini, great example of that. We know BMW owners that have gone back to the dealership going, look, I know the servicing is supposed to be 20,000 Ks or condition based, which is when the car tells you it needs it. Stuff that, I just want to get it done every 10,000 Ks. And their dealership won't do it. This varies on the dealership. So then they're left going to an independent mechanic. But now what we're seeing, because of technology, there are some cars that you can't even tell the computer in the car to say it got serviced at 10,000 Ks. It just won't let it happen. It'll only show the 25,000 kilometre service interval.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And also, what happened to just writing this shit down in a book?
Yeah, correct. That's right.
Why does it have to be part of a computer?
Correct. Or print it out.
Yeah, because what we're now seeing is also other customers or other owners, they can't even access the information of that car. That's like you not being able to get your own medical records.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Yes.
You've bought the car,
Yes.
you should be able to get all the documentation on it.
Yes.
Again, what was wrong with a pen and a stamp in a book? Why do we have to get rid of that?
Yeah.
So the extended service periods are death to cars. That is so bad for cars. Condition-based servicing, as you found, trying to schedule your life around just different things suddenly popping up. If you just went and got your car serviced every 10,000 Ks, every 12 months, just get it done, it's fine. And then you do your major service once you've done whatever it is for the car, say 60,000 kilometres, awesome. If you're driving your car hard or you're doing a lot of towing or off-roading, make it every 5,000 Ks in 6 months. Seems like a lot, but doing it every 5,000 Ks in 6 months is going to extend the life of that car more than you know.
Oh, that's just scary. That's just beyond scary.
Oh, mate, it is the amount of. I feel like we've really seen a shift in this last 10 years of manufacturers going, right, how do we rip more money out of people's pockets? I do wonder if part of it is because we've got Chinese vehicles coming in that are genuinely impressive for not a lot of cash. As I said, I just did this GWM tank and GWM cannon videos. I had the tank for months. It's fantastic. Like to all the listeners, don't buy one new. Go buy a used one. The GWM will hate me saying that, but they're great. They're really, really good. And you go, are the manufacturers going, especially Mercedes, are they going, oh my God, all these luxury Chinese brands are popping up. They're offering more tech and features, arguably better build quality. They're phenomenal to drive. They've got like 10-year warranties and 7-year warranties. And they're sometimes a third the price of the equivalent Mercedes. And also, it's not like Kia and Hyundai where you're trying to get around this, oh, they used to be shitty brands. Because these are brand new brands, they don't come with any baggage of dodgy image.
Yes.
If it's like the Denza or whatever it happens to be, it's a whole new thing. So you can get into that and your friends aren't going to go, oh, I didn't buy a Kia. They're super impressive. So I do wonder if a lot of these manufacturers are trying to profit as much as they can because they know China is.
It's legacy. They're just trying to rip what they can.
Yeah.
But so here's the reverse question. Like a lot of my mates have got Chinese EVs now and stuff, and we'll cover that in another episode. But do you worry about the servicing side of things at the moment because they're so new? Dealer networks, like XPeng's obviously had a couple of issues at the corporate level. I've seen. I don't know if you come across the electric Viking.
I know of it. Yeah.
So he had a terrible experience recently. Budget Direct. He had an XPeng. His wife's actually dying of cancer. So this is the last shit that he needed to deal with. Yeah. He bought an XPeng, had an accident. XPeng had the corporate issues. He put a claim in. Budget Direct took his excess, and then withdrew his insurance without notice. And then they just said, and without any explanation, but still pocketed his excess, and only through social media did they actually come back to him. This was only about 3 weeks ago. They just absolute assholes.
Wow, yeah. Look, I worry, there's something like 20 plus brands coming, right? And like they're not all going to last. There's no way. Even in China, like the price war going on in China at the moment is insane, and they can't all last. Yeah. I'd be extremely cautious about diving into one of the new brands. I think the GWMs, the BYDs, the MGs, like the JACs, like the really, really big ones. GWM are investing heavily in Australia. BYD obviously have as well, as have MG. Those I think were pretty safe. They're not going anywhere. But an XPeng are apparently doing a corporate, introducing corporate here.
Zeekr's growing at a rate of knots.
Yeah, Zeekr's growing. So they're definitely the bigger brands, but all these, dozens of other smaller brands, I wouldn't go near them. And also, I kind of go, what are you offering that the other guys
aren't?
I use the JB Hi-Fi TV analogy for this, which is like if you walk into a JB Hi-Fi at the moment to buy a TV, you've got Sony, Samsung, Hisense, Panasonic. You've got LG. There's probably 5 or 6 brands. Yep. If you walked into a JB Hi-Fi and there were 45 different TV brands, you just go, oh, this is too much. I'll just buy a Sony. Or just buy a Samsung because you know that brand. And I think we might start seeing the same in Australia with the car market, where we've suddenly got like 60 car brands. You just go, you know what? I'm just going to buy Toyota because I know what Toyota are. I know they're established. I know there's parts here. Yes. So I don't necessarily think it's great that we're getting all these brands. I personally, there's no way in hell I'd be buying some tiny little Chinese car brand. But I wouldn't be buying a Peugeot, or I wouldn't buy, I wouldn't, there's a lot
Renault,
of, so I'd personally, if I was buying new, I'd be going with, an established brand.
Yeah. Top 3 worst luxury brands in your mind from consumables and maintenance. I think you've already said JLR's probably. Yeah,
they're pretty bad, but there's worse.
There's worse than JLR?
Yeah, Maserati. In terms of, we're talking buying and ownership?
Buying and ownership experience.
Yeah, Maserati, because the depreciation is like unbelievable. Like unbelievable depreciation. If you're buying used, you're getting a lot of car for your money, but what car are you actually getting? So the cost of parts is insane because it's Maserati. And at the end of the day, the Ghibli is a great example of this. Like that's a shit car. Like it's a really shit car. Sorry if everyone's listening and they've got one, but you've bought the wrong car. Especially when you go and drive other cars in that class. You go, what am I paying for? You're paying for terrible build quality, archaic like levels of just features, an average driving experience. It sounds good and it's got a really good shift paddle feel. And that's where it ends. Oh man, like it's just horrible. It's a horrible car. So yeah, Maserati I reckon would be way up there. But again, if you went older, like get an older Quattroporte, like they're cool. Buy older ones. Bentley aren't great. Like the fit and finish is pretty diabolical, and there's a sense of luxury there. But again, depreciation and the cost of ownership, I just don't think it's worth it. And then I hate to say it, but Mercedes. I think modern Mercedes. I think anything after about 2005, there are very few models that I go, that's good. It's just, the problem with Mercedes is old Mercedes. The problem I've got is you go and get in like a 90s or an 80s model Merc, and then you get in a new one, you're like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like the old ones feel, they're so good. But like, again, that EQS that we reviewed recently, we've had plenty of AMGs on. We had an AMG C63 on twin turbo V8. I love that car. Horrible. Like the door cards squeak and all the plastic bits rattle, and they've got electronic issues, and they've got engine issues, and and they're so expensive to maintain, and I just go, what?
And they're actually so expensive to buy. I remember when the V8, they said they were killing off the V8 to go 4-cylinder on this new piece of crap they built. Like the prices of the used ones went, like there was a 2 in front of a lot of the coupes.
Yeah, it's insane. G63 is one of the most enjoyable driving experiences you can have. Like a G-Wagon with that V8 that does things to you. Okay. Like that is a wonderful car to drive, and actually not too bad. Like they're okay.
You had one on your channel.
Yeah. That was, I didn't want to give that back. That was wonderful. But then you go, the ownership aspect of it, they're good because they don't really depreciate. So you're not losing money there. And also they're not made by Mercedes. They're made in Austria by a different company. So they're not too bad, although if an engine goes, which has been known to happen, is happening more and more often because of cooling system and oil leaks, a crate engine as replacement is over $120,000. So you've got to go, is it worth the risk? Like, is it like, if
it's like a bet. You literally, it's like, how long?
So let's use this as an analogy with any Mercedes. If you were to, let's say it's a $100,000 Merc, and you know it's going to depreciate, and there's a good chance it's going to have problems. If that was stocks and shares, would you go and buy $100,000 worth of shares that you know is going to depreciate, and there's also probably going to be some major management issues going on with it as well? Would you put yourself in that position? Of course not. You'd be insane to do that. So why would you do it with a car? Especially when you could spend 25 grand on an old S-Class or an old 190E, and you get all the Mercedes-ness, but it's heaps cooler. When people see you driving your vintage Merc, that is way cooler than driving a new Mercedes. Buy the old one.
Rapid fire, fast finish. Best luxury daily driver under 50 grand.
Go less than 50, go under 20 grand. Lexus RX, second generation, top spec, sports luxury RX 350. That car, 20 grand will get you a concourse condition one. Like the one we reviewed one recently, and the guy paid 3.5 grand at auction for it, and he spent a couple of grand fixing things.
Done.
So for less than 10, I was driving it going, well, what else would you ever want from a luxury SUV? That is an outstanding car, yeah. The other honourable mention there is the Genesis G70.
Yeah, I saw that recently, and actually it was a bit tempting.
Cracking car.
Most overrated luxury brand, I think you already said it.
Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, Mercedes.
No, most overrated because I think...
because it's more mass market.
Yeah, I think a lot of people aspire to it, and there's that bullshit kind of, oh, it's a Mercedes, and just overrated now. Really, they need to sort things out there.
Most reliable German luxury car, if that's not an oxymoron.
No, BMW at the moment. Yeah, but the new B series engines are really good. Let's use the M2, the previous F series M2s, I would have one of those. I do bad things to have one of those. The G series, not so much, which is the slightly larger, ugly one. Also Porsche. So Porsche, maybe not Cayennes, maybe not some Macans, maybe not some Panameras, but Cayman, Boxster, 911, pretty amazing.
Pretty good.
Pretty bloody good.
Most financially dangerous luxury car, I think.
Maserati.
Yep. Best value performance car today.
Are we talking? Yeah, I've got a question on that. Are we talking like luxury brands or just in general?
Let's stay with luxury because
luxury.
Focus on luxury.
I don't know if you're looking at buying a G Series M2. What the hell are you doing? Buy the previous generation M2 CS. It's going up in value.
It is actually.
It's the better driver's car. It's got, I think, nicer to use iDrive. It's way more attractive. That M2 CS is one of the all-time greats. But that's not the winner. The winner is first and second generation Boxster and Cayman. I reckon the
First gen. How old? What year would
early
that be?
2000s.
Okay.
You can get first and second generation boxes now for less than MX-5s. That is a lot of Toyota in that car. A lot of people don't know this, but that was when Porsche were about to fall over financially.
Yeah.
They brought Toyota in to consult on how to
I
make
didn't know
cars.
that.
Yeah, Toyota. There's a lot of Toyota in the initial Cayenne and the initial Boxster. That's a lot of Toyota. Not Toyota past, but
Yeah,
Toyota
Toyota-
management,
yes,
Toyota
yes,
philosophy.
yes.
Yeah, they are. I reckon that first and second generation Boxer and Cayman are about as good as the performance car can get. They're outstanding. You don't even need the S or the GTS or any of the flashy ones. Just a base model manual Boxer or Cayman early phenomenal car.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've covered off quite a lot today. Luxury cars are obviously getting way easier to buy than ever before. You've got your A-classes, you've got your 1 Series, but they're not necessarily great to own. And the second-hand car market can make a lot of these cars look affordable until their first brake job arrives.
Oh yeah, not only the brake job, but just ownership in general.
Yeah.
Like the insurance costs, the
Yes.
depreciation costs, the parts costs. Like just once you add it all up,
Yes.
and then you go and drive a Mazda 3 and go, well, or a Mazda 6. A Mazda 6 wagon is phenomenal. Probably the most underrated used car you can buy. I challenge anyone to go and buy or drive a higher spec Mazda 6 and then get in any C-Class 3 Series and go, oh yeah, I see where the extra $40,000 is. You don't. The Mazda's amazing.
On that note, Adam, while I go find a cliff to jump off through and recalling a lot of my life decisions, thank you very much for your time.
My
again.
pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me.
This podcast is not financial product advice and is intended to provide information only. It does not take into account the investment objectives, financial situation, or needs of any person. You should assess whether the information is appropriate for you and consider talking to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Any investment examples are for illustrative purposes only. The information is taken from sources which are believed to be accurate, but Simon Wu, Jonathan Wu, SWU Financial Planning, and Personal Financial Services Limited accept no liability of any kind to any person who relies on the information contained in the podcast. Unless expressly stated, none of the information should be taken as a recommendation. For more information, please visit www.simonwu.com.au.